Deputy Vice Chancellor Academy, Registrar, Prof, University Librarian, Provost of Law of Medicine and Veterinary College, Dean, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Deans of other faculties and of students, Director of Institute Centers, Heads of Department, the 12th Vice Chancellor of Veterinary, Vice Chancellor of Ademola University, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The 617th University of Ademola lecture will be delivered by Professor Isaiah Oluwafemi Ademola on behalf of the Faculty of Basic Clinical Sciences. Professor Isaiah Oluwafemi Ademola was born on 10 December 1963 to late Thomas Adetunji Onifade and Madam Alice Anke Onifade of Arubiwe Compound, Isayola, Ogumosho, Oyo State, Nigeria. He began his primary education at Sichi Primary School via Bukuru, Plateau State, where he studied from 1971 to 1977. He thereafter attended Government Secondary School in Afada between 1979 and 1982, and subsequently Government Science Secondary School, Gombe, from 1982 to 1984. He proceeded the Federal Government College in Moshow for his advanced level studies between 1984 and 1986. In 1986, he gained admission to the University of Ibadan to study veterinary medicine and graduated of veterinary medicine degree in 1992. He completed the mandatory National Youth Service Corps in 1993 and was notably the first corps member posted to the then Federal Minister of Agriculture, Umudike, now Michael Opara Minister of Agriculture, Umudike. Between 1995 and 1995, he practiced as a private veterinarian clinician. Driven by a passion for scholarship and scientific inquiry, Professor Ademola returned to the University of Ibadan in 1995 for postgraduate studies in veterinary parasitology, earning the Master of Science degree and subsequently the Doctor degree in 2005. In recognition of his professional competence and contributions to the discipline, he was admitted as a fellow of the College of Veterinary Surgeons of Nigeria in veterinary parasitology in 2015. Professor Ademola began his academic career in 2004 as lecturer grade 2 in the Department of Veterinary Microbiology and Parasitology at the University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, where he served as a partner lecturer in veterinary parasitology. He joined the University of Ibadan in 2007 as lecturer 1 in the same discipline and rose steadily through the ranks to become Professor of Veterinary Parasitology in 2016, attaining each promotion as an well-known. His research interests span molecular epidemiology, mathematical modeling of parasitic diseases, phytomedicine, antiparasitic drug resistance, and policy reform. He has published 95 scholarly articles in reputable international and European journals and proceedings. Earning wide recognition within the global scientific community, he has supervised numerous undergraduate and postgraduate students, many of whom now serve as academics and researchers in universities within and outside Nigeria. He has also participated extensively in national and international conferences, workshops, and professional research refresher courses. Professor Ademola has rendered distinguished service to the University of Ibadan in several administrative capacities. He served as head of the Department of Veterinary Parasitology and Entomology from 2020 to 2024. Sectional head of Parasitology in the Department of Veterinary Microbiology and Parasitology from 2007 to 2018. Member of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine Finance Committee between 2013 and 2015, and member of Senate from 2016 to date. He currently serves as Director of the Center for Control and Prevention of Zoonosis. His academic career has been marked by steady scholarship, institutional commitment, and international collaboration. Beyond his own institution, Professor Ademola has served as excellent examiner to several universities, including the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, for the DVM and PhD program. University of Ilorin for the DVM program, Joseph Sawan Taka University Makoni for the DVM program, University of Maiduguri as a PhD examiner, University of Portia, South Africa, and the University of Pretoria, South Africa as PhD external examiner. He also assessed candidates for promotion to the professorial kingdom. Professor Ademola is a member of several professional bodies, including the Nigerian Veterinary Medical Association, the International Center for Infectious Diseases, and the World Association for the Advancement of Veterinary Pathology. He also serves as reviewer for numerous international and regional scientific journals. He undertook a doctoral fellowship at the Faculty of Veterinary Science, University of Pretoria, South Africa, between 2008 and 2009. And was a visiting scientist at the Institute of Pathology and Tropical Veterinary Medicine, Freie University, Berlin, Germany in 2013. This scientific visit was supported by the German Research Foundation and the World Academy of Sciences. Professor Isaiah Olufemi Ademola is also a devout Christian, teacher of gospel and author. He is a committed member of Lighthouse Baptist Church in Ibadan, where he serves in the teaching ministry. He also serves as patron of the Baptist Student Fellowship, University of Ibadan, advisor to the Redeemed Christian Postgraduate Fellowship, University of Ibadan, and member of the Board of Governors, Baptist College of Theology, Oyo. He is the author of Faith Containers, The Last Days, The Good News, and The Time Is Near. Professor Ademola is married to Professor Charles Ayobami Ademola Ni Oladele of the Department of Physics, University of Ibadan. Their marriage is blessed with godly children, Joshua, Eunice, Esther, and Elisha. I now invite Professor Isaiah Olufemi Ademola to deliver his inaugural lecture titled Unmasking and Combating the Midnight Pestilence. Professor Ademola.
Vice Chancellor, sir, represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, Innovation and Strategic Partnership, Registrar, Librarian, Provost College of Medicine, Provost of Postgraduate College, Dean of Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Deans of other faculties and of students, Directors of Institutes and Centers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense gratitude to God and a profound sense of responsibility that I deliver this lecture, the 617th inaugural lecture of this university, the 49th from the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, and the second from the new Department of Veterinary Pathology and Entomology. As I stand before this distinguished academic community and the wider public town and land to share insight into the fascinating and impactful role of parasites, my heart is filled with humility, joy, and thanksgiving. I give all glory, honor, and praise to God Almighty, who has guided my journey to this moment. I will extol thee, O Lord, for thou hast lifted me up and hast not made my foes to rejoice over me. For this God is my God, forever and ever. He shall be my God, even unto death. Standing in this iconic hall today, I reflect on the path that has brought me to this podium, nearly a decade after my elevation to the rank of Professor of Veterinary Pathology. Although this lecture lacks the traditional essence of an inaugural lecture presentation, it serves as a continuation of a rich academic legacy, a testament to the contributions of veterinary pathology to science and society. This distinguished tradition began with the pioneering inaugural lecture of Professor O. Odipe titled Parasite, Scourge of Man and Livestock. He was followed by Professor A.F. Ogunade, my esteemed MSc supervisor, whose lecture was titled Parasite, Killing Us Softly. The third in the series, Parasite, the Bottom Line, was delivered by Professor O.A. Akinbuhade. Professor B. Ofabemi, my retired PhD supervisor, further enriched this intellectual heritage with his lecture, The Tapestry of Parasitism. Most recently, Professor J. O. Adejimi sustained the tradition with his inaugural lecture titled Parasites, Pedestal Threats to Public Vigor. Today, as I take up the mantle from these illustrious predecessors, mentors, and icons in the field, I seek to expand this narrative by exploring the dynamic and intricate world of parasites and their profound implications for human, animal, and environmental health. The title of this lecture, Unmasking and Combating the Midnight Pestilence, draws inspiration and scientific concordism from the powerful imagery of Psalm 91, verse 5 to 6. I quote, "Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday." These verses illuminate a profound reality, the existence of unseen forces that operate in secrecy, preying upon humanity's vulnerability. The midnight pestilence, described by the psalmist, evoke vivid imagery of hidden threats, silent yet devastating in their impact. Within the context of this lecture, the metaphor aptly describes parasitic diseases that invade, exploit, and weaken their hosts, often unnoticed until the consequences become severe and undeniable. Yet, the psalm offers more than a warning about danger. It also extends an assurance of divine protection. This assurance mirrors our collective responsibility in confronting parasitic threats to respond with vigilance, wisdom, scientific inquiry, and decisive action. By unmasking these hidden adversaries and combating them through the instrument of science, knowledge, and faith, we fulfill a dual mandate: the protection of life and the stewardship of creation. Vice Chancellor, sir, you will recall that my dear wife, Professor Janet Ademola, delivered the 613th inaugural lecture of this great university on the 14th of May 2026, titled Invisible Friendly Foe Made Visible Through Science. In her lecture, the focus was on ionizing radiation, an invisible phenomenon which, though potentially harmful, can through science be understood, controlled, and harnessed for the benefit of humanity. The pestilence I seek to unmask today, however, is far from being friendly. Parasites have remained relentless adversaries of mankind since the fall of man, silently afflicting humans and animals alike, undermining health, diminishing productivity, threatening food security, and perpetuating poverty and suffering across societies. In a remarkable way, it appears that our family has been called to the shared mission of exposing humanity's hidden enemies through science. While my wife unveiled the mystery of invisible ionizing radiation, this lecture seeks to uncover the midnight pestilence that walketh in darkness. Through this discourse, I endeavor to align the scientific pursuit of understanding, preventing, and eradicating parasitic afflictions with the enduring spiritual principles of light overcoming darkness and truth dispelling mysteries. By unveiling the strategies of these unseen adversaries, the assurance and courage embedded in Psalm 91 verse 5 to 6 is affirmed, confronting fear with faith, ignorance with revelation, and mystery with scientific discovery. Parasites, the hidden guest at our table. The term parasite originates from the ancient Greek word parasitos, meaning one who eats at another's expense, like the friend who always seems to show up exactly at dinner time. The term was originally used in social and literary contexts to describe individuals who depended on others for sustenance and livelihood. We can easily see why the creatures that live in us and on us have acquired the same label. They flourish at our expense. All too often, parasites are able to feed on us because we have consumed them, arriving at the table unannounced and unseen. They are not just at dinner, they are dinner. Parasites are ubiquitous and remain formidable adversaries. Today, infectious diseases remain the second leading cause of death worldwide, and among the young, the leading cause. Many of these diseases are zoonotic, that is, they are transmitted from animals to humans, emerging through human encroachment on natural ecosystems, population growth, and global mobility. Recognizing the interconnection between human, animal, and environmental health has led to the One Health Initiative. This initiative calls for integrated collaborations among physicians, veterinarians, and environmental scientists. As emphasized in this inaugural lecture, human well-being is inseparably linked to the health of ecosystems and other living species. Parasites everywhere, the invisible majority. Vitas versa. Parasites outnumber us beyond imagination. Every species on Earth, including humans and animals, and even plants, harbor parasites. Remarkably, parasites themselves may also host parasites, a phenomenon known as hyperparasitism. Some of these parasites live harmlessly within their host, while others inflict immense damage. Parasites often attract attention only when they cause disease, provoking fear and disgust. Yet, parasites are not merely biological villains. They are powerful ecological players that influence entire ecosystems, species evolution, and social dynamics. Parasites and global food security. The global human population has more than doubled in the past 5 decades and now exceeds 8 billion, with projections suggesting growth towards 9 to 10 billion in the coming decades. Feeding humanity sustainably is one of the greatest challenges of our time. Livestock diseases, particularly those caused by parasites, threaten this goal by reducing productivity, food safety, and economic stability. We can't seem to manage to provide healthy nutrition or even feed the 8 billion people that exist on this planet. How do we feed 10 billion people without science aiding in the sustainability of food production and safety? Food for thought. My studies have employed advanced technologies and techniques, including improved diagnostic methods and the use of drugs to control these parasites. Similarly, my studies have also warned that parasite resistance and uneven access to these technologies in developing countries remains as impending barrier. Parasites and food safety, a market of peril. If one takes a pessimistic view of food-borne infections, one will jokingly conclude that the safest way to avoid them is not to eat at all. The greatest danger in food are often invisible, while lions, wolves, and crocodiles are wilderness predators. Parasites, bacteria, and even viruses prowl the food market. Because most are microscopic, we have no idea we are stuck until it is too late. In the realm of food safety, however, ignorance is not bliss, as most of our parasites are swallowed. Human behavior plays a major role. Ignorance, poor sanitation, and unsafe disposal of animal remains allow parasites to circulate between humans, animals, and the environment. Our efforts have not eliminated parasites. They still work behind the scene, wreaking havoc in our lives. How do parasites enter our mouth so easily? In many cases, the process is surprisingly simple. Parasites often contaminate food long before it reaches our tables. For example, when untreated animal or human waste is used as fertilizer in vegetable gardens, parasite eggs, oocysts, and larvae may attach to vegetables and remain unnoticed. We then buy the food from the market, unaware that these invisible hitchhikers are traveling with it. If the food is eaten raw, poorly washed, or inadequately cooked, we unknowingly open the door for the parasite to enter our bodies. From that point, the parasite continues its life cycle at our expense. Fortunately, these transmission pathways can be interrupted. Thorough washing of vegetables and fruit, safe irrigation process, proper sanitation, and adequate cooking of meat significantly reduce infection risk. Cooking meat to internal temperature of about 70 to 75 is generally sufficient to destroy most foodborne parasites and pathogens. Testing undercooked meat may expose individuals to parasites and foodborne pathogens. Proper cooking requires adequate internal temperature, clear juices, and no raw portions. Patience during cooking is an important disease prevention measure. Traditional cooking methods involving prolonged boiling or thorough frying have therefore provided important protection in many cultures. However, increasing preference for partially cooked foods may increase exposure to foodborne parasites. Life, indeed, is often shaped by the choices we make and sometimes by the parasites we unknowingly invite to the table. Ultimately, the market of peril reflects the close relationship between human behavior, agriculture, ecology, and disease. Parasites on the move, the global spread. Parasites without borders. Our world has never been compartmentalized. Vice Chancellor, sir. Parasites recognize no borders. They neither need passport nor visa. Through migration, trade, and travel, humans have unintentionally transported parasites across continents. Historical movements such as the transatlantic slave trade and the modern livestock trade have facilitated parasite dispersal. Some, like Onkosaka volvulus and Ifoju, the cause of river blindness, found new ecological niches in Central and South America. Others, like malaria parasites, reshape entire population and colonial histories. Thus, I illustrate that parasites have been silent passengers of globalization long before we coined the term. Parasites that control minds. In an extraordinary twist of nature, some parasites manipulate the behavior of their host. They can induce suicide by causing their host to have feelings of affection for their predators. The protozoan Toxoplasma gondii infect billions of people worldwide and can alter brain chemistry. It manipulates infected rodents to lose their fear of cats, thereby increasing the likelihood of predation and enabling completion of the parasite's life cycle. This striking manipulation has made Toxoplasma one of the most famous examples of host behavioral alteration in parasitology, an observation that resonate even in popular cartoons such as the ironic predator-prey dynamics depicted in Tom and Jerry. In humans, Toxoplasma gondii infection have been associated with behavioral and neurological changes, though research is ongoing. Open defecation and parasite transmission in Nigeria. Open defecation is the practice of passing feces in open environments rather than in sanitary enclosed toilet facilities. Nigeria's sanitation crisis amplifies parasite transmission. Nigeria was reported to have the highest number of people practicing open defecation globally, surpassing India in absolute numbers, despite its much larger population and land mass. UNICEF 2019. Over 47 million Nigerians still practice open defecation, contaminating soil, food, and water with parasite eggs and larvae. Worms such as Ascaris lumbricoides, and Ankylostoma duodenale, spread easily under the condition, leading to malnutrition, stunted growth, and impaired cognition in children. The economic cost of poor sanitation exceed $3 billion annually, equivalent to 1.3% of Nigeria's GDP, World Bank 2012. This is the latest data available. This lecture stresses that eliminating open defecation is not merely a public health priority, but it is an economic and moral imperative. My contributions: understanding and combating parasitic diseases. Transitioning from global perspective to personal research contributions, this lecture detailed years of pioneering work on parasitic diseases affecting humans, livestock, and wildlife in Nigeria and beyond. The focus spans molecular epidemiology, economic modeling, mathematical modeling, phytomedicine, drug resistance, and policy reforms. Socioeconomic burden of human and livestock parasitic diseases. Vice Chancellor, sir, parasitic diseases impose staggering financial losses on Nigeria's public health and livestock industry. My studies quantify the burden of key infectious diseases such as cysticercosis caused by Taenia solium, a zoonotic disease causing human cysticercosis, and Ademola. Losses amount to $1.89 billion annually, with hospital costs for neurocysticercosis alone exceeding $1.43 billion globally. African animal trypanosomiasis are perhaps the most devastating, costing $577 million in annual losses, nearly 7% of livestock GDP. Without control, losses could reach 85% within 50 years. Small ruminant fastodiasis affects sheep and goat, resulting to losses of $77.94 million annually. Bovine fastodiasis, caused by liver flukes, it leads to liver condemnation and reduced productivity in cattle, costing $26 million annually. These studies provide crucial data for policymakers and highlight the need for integrated disease control and farmer education. Unmasking the midnight pestilence, advances in diagnosis and epidemiology. Parasitic diseases thrive in shadows, the midnight pestilence. Advances in molecular diagnostics, such as the polymerase chain reaction and next generation sequencing, are eliminating their hidden spread. Epidemiological mapping using GIS now allows scientists to track parasite movement, improving surveillance and resource allocation. In one of my studies, I was able to trace blood sources from fly snake gut, listing all the vertebrate hosts from where they are taking their food. Other key findings include schistosoma hematobium remain highly prevalent, 32.1% among Nigerians, linked to poor sanitation and contaminated water contact. Cryptosporidium affects 15% of humans and over 25% of livestock. Seroprevalence of Toxoplasma gondii revealed 13.9% and 29.1% positivity in cattle and pigs respectively. This has public health implications. Congenital malaria persists, affecting 12.7% of neonates, a preventable yet neglected crisis. My studies also demonstrate how co-infections amplify disease severity, calling for integrated surveillance across human and veterinary systems under the One Health framework. A meta-analysis spanning 6 decades revealed an overall prevalence of 16.1% in livestock, with Trypanosoma vivax and Trypanosoma congolensis being dominant species. The economic toll is immense and control efforts remain fragmented. Molecular diagnostics have advanced detection, revealing reservoirs of infection that traditional microscopy missed. This lecture emphasizes the urgent need for national surveillance frameworks, community participation, and cross-sector collaboration to break the transmission cycle. Vectors, environment, and disease transmission. Vice Chancellor, sir, understanding the behavior of vectors such as tsetse flies and biting diphtherians is central to trypanosomiasis control. My work identified blood meal sources in these flies using cytochrome B mitochondrial DNA sequencing. I identified blood meal sources from these hosts, including cattle, humans, and wildlife, such as hippopotamus, giraffe, spotted hyena. Genetic studies reveal multiple Glossina and Tabanos species with distinct ecological distribution influenced by climate and vegetation. Our study was the first to molecularly characterize tabanids in Nigeria. Similarly, published in the Journal of Medical Entomology, our research on the feeding behavior of Glossina, Tabanos, and Stomosis species demonstrated the vector's preference for specific cattle body regions and the differential success of blood feeding based on host defensive behavior. Our study, published in Parasitology International, explored the prevalence of endosymbionts in natural population of Glossina papalis and Glossina tachinoides. These insights inform targeted vector management strategies, including traps, insecticide-treated targets, and habitat modification. Linking disease to conflict, the trypanosomiasis transhumans nexus. Today, as we gather to explore the frontier of veterinary science and public policy, I invite you to reflect on a paradox at the center of Nigeria's agrarian heritage, the mobility that once symbolized resilience and pastoral traditions now fuels a cycle of conflict and stagnation. In one of the most socially relevant sections, my study bridges veterinary science and policy. One of my studies establishes a strong correlation between African animal trypanosomiasis and herder-farmer conflict in Nigeria's Middle Belt. As desertification drives herders southwards into Sese belts, livestock become infected, productivity declines, and economic desperation trigger clashes with crop farmers. Data show an average of 6.46 deaths per conflict incident between 2005 and 2021. The study proposes integrating African animal trypanosomiasis in control into Nigeria's National Livestock Transformation Plan, NLTP, to promote ranching, reduce migration, and build peace. Key policy recommendations include 1. Vector and disease surveillance as national priority. 2. Sedentarization with trypanotolerant breeds. 3. Economic incentives for livestock value chains. And 4. Governance reforms and interministerial collaboration. These measures can reduce both disease prevalence and social instability, turning livestock policy into a peace-building tool. Wildlife, tourism, and parasites, the ecological dimension. Wildlife tourism represents a critical yet overlooked interface for parasite transmission between animals and humans. Our study across Nigerian ecosystems have documented heavy parasitic burdens in diverse wildlife, underscoring significant ecological and public health risks. Alarmingly, our study showed that only 4.7% of tourist centers in Africa conduct routine wildlife health assessment. And we provided the first comprehensive compilation of zoonotic parasites from African wildlife. Our investigation in Owoyo National Park revealed abundant disease-carrying diphtheria flies and Glossina species with a 2.94% trypanosome infection rate. Additionally, our studies documented gastrointestinal and blood parasites in squirrel, non-monitor lizards, water duikers, snakes, and cattle egret, highlighting zoonotic risk linked to undercooked bush meat consumption and ecotourism. Collectively, these findings call for integrated wildlife health surveillance to safeguard biodiversity and human health. Combating the midnight pestilence, drug resistance, and the search for new remedies. Vice Chancellor, sir, the fight against parasitic diseases often lead to battling a midnight pestilence faces significant challenges due to the rise of drug resistance. Parasites such as Plasmodium responsible for malaria and nematodes causing helminthiasis have developed resistance to key drugs, threatening global health initiatives. Our study was the first to examine the occurrence of different benzimidazole resistance-associated beta-tubulin slips in cattle nematodes in Africa. My work revealed early evidence of dynamically-resistant trypanosome threatening sustainability of African animal trypanosomiasis control. Similarly, declining effectiveness of cypermethrin-based insecticide points to emerging vector resistance. This alarming trend underscores the urgent need for innovative drug discovery and sustainable parasite control strategies. Advances in genomics and bioinformatics have accelerated the identification of novel drug targets, enabling the development of next-generation antiparasitic compounds. Natural products, synthetic analog, and repurposed drugs are being explored for their efficacy against resistant strains. Additionally, combination therapies which utilize multiple drugs with complementary mechanisms are proving effective in slowing resistance development. Community education and improved sanitation also plays critical roles in reducing parasite prevalence and infection rates. Nature's pharmacy, harnessing bioactive plant. Vice Chancellor, sir, in a hopeful tone, this lecture celebrates the potential of natural products in combating parasites. Plants such as Caria senegalensis, Ogawo, Leucina leucocephala, Shekpedeba, Vanonia amygdalina, Ewuro, and Spondias mombi, Iyeye, demonstrated remarkable antiemetic, trypanocidal, and anticoccidial activity in our investigation. My study also showed that common antiemetics such as the ivermectins and benzimidazoles remain effective against nematodes, offering window of opportunity for sustainable drug management. Similarly, edible mushrooms, Pirotus ostratus, and Pirotus sagiocaju also show effectiveness against trypanosomes and Eimeria species. Of particular note is Forafenite A compound we were the first to isolate from Spondias mombi, Iyeye, which exhibits potent antiemetic activity with minimal toxicity, making it a promising lead candidate for future veterinary therapeutics. Our computational drug discovery work identified magniferin derivatives naturally sourced from mango as promising anticoccidial agents, showing strong in silico binding to critical parasite enzymes. These studies highlight Africa's biodiversity as a treasure trove for modern pharmacology, aligning traditional medicine with advanced biochemistry. Mathematical modeling, predicting and preventing outbreaks. Vice Chancellor, sir, my interdisciplinary work extends to mathematical modeling, integrating epidemiology, climate, and social dynamics to predict disease spread. Models developed for onchocerciasis, also known as river blindness, malaria, and trypanosomiasis, illustrate how vector control, resistant testing, and environmental management keep reproduction rate below 1, or not less than 1, ensuring disease decline. For instance, we estimated that losses due to African animal trypanosomiasis in Nigeria currently account for 6.93% of the nation's annual livestock GDP. Without effective intervention, this figure could rise to as much as 85% within the next 50 years. These predictive tools inform policy, helping authorities allocate resources efficiently and anticipate outbreaks before they escalate. Conclusion. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, this lecture has illuminated what I describe as midnight pestilence, parasites. It is midnight because it is invisible and operates in secrecy. It is pestilence because of its devastating impact on human, animal, and environmental health. Through science, these invisible stealthy agents are exposed, understood, and ultimately contained. From exploring natural products such as flavonoid A and magniferin for antiemetic and anticoccidial therapies, respectively, to harnessing molecular epidemiology and mathematical modeling. To understand and control disease dynamics, the message remains clear. Knowledge is the light that unveils hidden mystery, while disciplined human action remains our strongest defense against unseen forces that threaten health, stability, and survival. The wisdom from this lecture calls us to healthcare systems rooted in public health that preserves life, not sick care systems that only treat disease after it arrives. Recommendation. In the light of the scientific evidence presented in this inaugural lecture, the following recommendations are proposed towards effective control of parasitic diseases and the strengthening of public and animal health systems. First, strengthen national surveillance and diagnostic systems. Adopt and fully implement One Health approach. Improve sanitation and eliminate open defecation. Address drug resistance through research and innovation. Promote food safety and public awareness. Encourage industry-academia partnership. Enhance environmental and wildlife health monitoring. And invest in youth training and capacity building. In Nigeria, chronic underfunding has remained a major obstacle to scientific research and higher education. Although the federal government's recent upward review of academic remuneration is commendable and reflects renewed recognition of the role of academics in national development, the adjustment, while positive, remain insufficient to address the cumulative effects of years of underinvestment in the education and research ecosystem. Nigeria's education budget remains far below the 15 to 20% benchmark recommended by UNICEF, resulting in deteriorating infrastructure, inadequate laboratories, limited research funding, and poor staff welfare. These conditions continue to drive the migration of talented scholars abroad. To reposition the sector for excellence, government must sustain improved remuneration and substantially increase transparent, merit-based investment in education and research. The fight against parasitic diseases, and indeed many of Nigeria's most pressing challenges, cannot be won without deliberate, sustained investment in science, technology, and human capital. The recent government intervention is a step in the right direction. Building on it decisively will determine the future trajectory of the nation's knowledge economy. Acknowledgement. I remain deeply grateful to the numerous individuals who, in one way or another, have influenced, guided, encouraged, and supported me throughout my academic journey. Although I have made every effort to acknowledge people and groups according to their various contributions, I sincerely regret any unintentional omissions. Constraints of time and space can never diminish the depth of my gratitude and appreciation. My heartfelt thanks goes to the University Administration, led by the Vice Chancellor, Professor Ademola, and his entire team. I'm also deeply grateful to the Dean of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Professor Abashala Olugasa, for nominating me for this inaugural lecture. I remain indebted to my teachers and mentor, Professor Benjamin Olakunle Fagbemi, my PhD supervisor, whose invaluable guidance and counsel shaped my academic path. Professor Adelani Folonosho Ogunriade of blessed memory, my MSc supervisor, who refined the raw potential in me. Professor O.A. Akinwade of blessed memory, and other teachers whose influence continue to guide my work. Professor Gabriel Adetunji Taiwo Kuntipe of blessed memory for his unfailing support and counsel. Professor Jacobus Nicholas Enoch, for graciously accommodating me in his laboratory and for imparting the invaluable discipline and art of scientific writing. Professor George von Samson Hezongena, for kindly hosting me in his laboratory and for his support, mentorship, and collaborative guidance. I deeply appreciate Professor and Mrs. Jiria Dewey, as well as Professor and Mrs. Ayo Okule, former Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, University of Ibadan, who prepared me for an academic career long before I ever imagined becoming an academic myself. Beyond this, you have graciously nurtured and discipled me spiritually over the past 4 decades. I remain profoundly grateful for your invaluable investment in my life. I also appreciate my colleagues in the department, Professor A.B. Ayimode, Head of Department, Professor J.O. Adejimi, Professor O.E. Adejima, and all academic staff for their collaboration, encouragement, and friendship. I also sincerely appreciate all the non-teaching staff of our department for their dedication, assistance, and unwavering support throughout the years. I am grateful to all my colleagues and the non-teaching staff of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine for their support, collaboration, encouragement, and invaluable contributions to a conducive academic environment. I gratefully acknowledge the support and guidance of Dr. Olumide and Mrs. Modupe Idowu, Professor Adebayo Isaac and Mrs. Olubanke Adeyemi, former Vice Chancellor, Bells University, Pa Joel and Mrs. Adejoke Fadele, and Professor Gabriel Olaniran Adegoke. My research has been enriched through generous funding from the National Research Foundation, South Africa, the World Academy of Science, and the German Research Foundation. To my international collaborators, I owe immense thanks. To my local collaborators, I appreciate you all. I'm grateful to Professor A.E. Ayodele for his assistance in the identification and authentication of plant specimens, as well as for facilitating the deposition of culture samples in the herbarium of the Department of Botany, University of Ibadan. To my postgraduate students, I express pride and gratitude. I'm also deeply grateful to my friends and colleagues for their steadfast friendship and unwavering support. I acknowledge with gratitude all members of the Baptist Student Fellowship Alumni Association, University of Ibadan, for their enduring fellowship and encouragement. I sincerely appreciate all members of the Baptist Student Fellowship and the Redeemed Christian Postgraduate Fellowship, University of Ibadan, for the joyful fellowship we share together. To my spiritual leaders at Lighthouse Baptist Church, Ibadan, I'm profoundly grateful. Late Pastor Dr. Luyemi Alao and Mrs. Rachel Alao, Reverend Dr. and Mrs. Philip Atobi, Reverend Dr. and Mrs. Olatunji Matthew Taiwo, Reverend Dr. and Mrs. John Akinwilade, and Reverend Ademola and Dr. Mrs. Nike Falade. I also thank all members of Lighthouse Baptist Church, Ibadan, for their encouragement, fellowship, and prayers. I thank all members of the Sunday School, Bible Study, and Counseling Department, as well as Main 2 Sunday School class of Lighthouse Baptist Church, Ibadan, for their steadfast support. I'm grateful to Dr. Paul Olale Odenina and Dr. Mrs. Kennedy Foluke Paul Odenina for editing this manuscript and the slides. I'm most grateful to my darling wife, Professor Janet Ayobami Ademola, for proofreading the manuscript and the slide. I'm deeply grateful to my sister, Professor Abos Edeko Omonona, and her husband for their kind support and assistance with logistics. I appreciate all my siblings and all the Onifades, the Arubiewes, and the Obamu families. I also thank my brethren-in-laws and their spouses and all the Oladele family. I appreciate my aunt and uncles, Madam Comfort Ajorofa Sanya of blessed memory, Pa Emmanuel Fakorodi Onifade of blessed memory, Pa Akane and Mrs. Janet Onifade of blessed memory, Pa Olajide Ajadi, Evangelist Adeyakao of blessed memory, and Dr. Lushola and Mrs. Mukilola Ogundeji for their generosity and encouragement. I also deeply appreciate my parent-in-laws, Pa John Oladejo Oladele of blessed memory, and Mama Abigail Oladele, present here, whose love and care greatly enrich our lives. I especially honor my mothers, Madam Alice and Keolifade of blessed memory, and Mama Abigail Oladele, who lovingly cared for our children during the academic years of my wife and me. To my late parents, Pa Thomas Adetuji and Madam Alice and Keolifade, I owe everything. Their tireless sacrifice, unflinching faith, and lifelong investment in my education laid the foundation for all that I am today. Though they are not here to witness this today, their legacy lives on in me, and I dedicate this lecture to their blessed memory. To my children, Brother Joshua, Sister Eunice, Sister Esther, Brother Elisha, you are treasures beyond measure, bright light on life's long road. Your patience and understanding have lifted many a load. With godly grace, you grow each day in wisdom, love, and truth. I bless the Lord for giving me such joy in my youth. To my beloved wife, Professor Janet Ademola, my anchor in stormy time, my strength when hope seems small. Your love has been my faithful guide. Your prayers have borne it all. Through sacrifice, through night and day, you stood and gave your best. My sweetheart, my friend, and dearest one, you are my crown, my rest. Now to the Most High, O Ancient of Days, my refuge and light, who guided my step through the thick of the night, from humble beginning to height unforeseen. Your hands have sustained me, though silent, unseen. When with wisdom, with your hands have sustained me. When vision was dim and the pathway unclear, you whispered your promise and silenced my fear. Through trials and triumph, setback and strain, your grace like a dew refreshed me again. The dreams once sown in the soil of this earth, you watered with mercy and answered with care. You opened the doors no man could unlock and steadied my feet on foundation and rock. From classroom to clinic, from the lab to the field, in every discovery, your truth was revealed. You crown all my effort with wisdom and peace. Each line and each lecture a divine masterpiece. So now, I return all the glory and praise to you, God eternal, ancient of days. This journey is yours. This story your song. You have carried me gently and led me along. Let this be my echo, my anthem, my crown. All honor and worship to you, the Most High. To you be the glory forever adored. My strength and my shepherd, my Father and Lord Jesus. Amen. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for listening.